Hi, welcome to today's notes. Our focus is going to be graphing inequalities. But before we get started, here I'm making these notes in the morning, and I'm drinking my coffee. What do you think that math teachers like to eat with their coffee? A slice of pie, P-I. Get it? Get it? And then another one to kind of build off of that. Why is a bad joke like a broken pencil? It has no point. Ba, ba, ba. Alrighty, so coming back to these notes, like I said, we are talking about graphing inequality, and I have a few steps for us that we are going to complete on your notes. The first one is we're going to solve for y. And so just like all of our other problems that we have worked with, we're going to make sure our inequality is in slope-intercept form. So quick reminder what slope-intercept form is we have y equals mx plus b. Okay, so again, solve for y, put it in that slope-intercept form. Then the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to use we're going to graph everything else the same, where we find our y-intercept, and then we complete our slope movement. And then the next thing that we're going to do is, I have this really cool, is part A. Go ahead and put in greater than or less than. So if you have a greater than or less than inequality, what you're going to have is you are going to create a dotted or dashed line. Okay, so what I have in green is an example of a dotted or dashed line. So you'll hear, we can use either terminology for that. Now for part B, what I'm going to have you guys put in is greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. So if it is an equal to, we are going to have a solid line. Okay, so go ahead, write that in and draw an example of a solid line. So everything is the same, except we have different kinds of lines depending on the inequalities. And then there's another thing. So remember that an inequality does not equal one specific value. It is a range of numbers. Okay, so it is, a greater than, a certain amount, or less than another certain amount. And so to signify that on a coordinate plane, what we are going to do is we are going to shade. So if we have less than or equal to, we are going to shade below the line. Okay, so we will shade down or below the line. So again, it signifies all values that are less than, that are less than. So go ahead, write this in next to A. Now for part B, this is going to be your greater than or equal to, and this is where you will be shading above the line, or shade up. Okay, so go ahead and write that in. Now let's go ahead and work on our first example together. So the first example I have for you, and go ahead, write this down, y is less than 1/2 x minus 2. And so for this, it's already in slope-intercept form, so we don't have to solve for y. It's done for us. What we are going to do, though, is we're going to go ahead and start graphing this. I'm going to start with naming my slope. Slope is -1/2. B, my y-intercept is 0, -3. And so, you know what? I know I said -3. My answer key is different than the notes that I have up here on the board, so I apologize. So that means maybe I'm going to be winging it today. I can do this, right? All right, so here we go. We're going to start at the origin. We're going to go down 3, and y-intercept is at -3. And my slope movement is a +1/2, so that means I'm going to go up 1, right 2, and go ahead and do that as well on your notes. And again, make sure you are taking up your entire coordinate plane. I'm going to go in the opposite direction, so down 1, left 2. So again, everything is the opposite direction, down 1, left 2, down 1, left 2. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I have to figure out how I'm going to create my line. I can't just automatically draw a solid line. This one tells me I'm going to use a dashed line, so it does not equal this exactly. So trying to find my dashed, here we go, and oh, this is not straight. It was supposed to be straight. So the best I did, not bad, and then draw your arrows for that. Now the next thing that we're going to do after that is we are going to shade. Okay, so this is less than. So this is all values less than this line. So for all values less than this line, I'm going to highlight, it's all below. So again, all my y values that are decreasing. And so again, that's how we're going to read this. All values less than. I guess I'm still on dotted mode here. And so that is below the line. So all of our decreasing y values. So number two, I have 3x plus y is greater than or equal to 2. See if I can get back into regular pen mode here. This looks like we're going to have to put this one into slope-intercept form. So our first step is we're going to subtract 3x from both sides. When I subtract 3x from both sides, I now have y is greater than or equal to negative 3x plus 2. All right, we're going to start by writing our slope. Our slope is negative 3 over 1. This is a slope movement we're going to do when we create our line on the coordinate plane. And my starting point, or my initial value, is 0, 2. So starting at the origin, I'm going to go up 2, plot my point. My slope movement is down 3, right 1. So I'm going to go down 3, 1, 2, 3, right 1, down 1, 2, 3, right 1, 1, 2. I'm going to run out of room. And so the other thing that I need to make sure I'm doing is go in the opposite direction. So again, because we're making nice big lines here. So if I went down 1, right 1, I'm going to now go up 3, 1, 2, 3, and left 1. Up 1, 2, 3, left 1. And I'm going to... Looks like if I try and do one more, I'm going to go off. Now, looking before I draw my line, I have to look at the inequality. It's an equal to, so this time I'm going to have an solid line. So create my solid line. You guys do too. Hey, make sure you're using a straight edge. Okay. I kind of left that off at the beginning of the notes, but I'm hoping at this point, whenever you see graphing, it's understood, you guys know to use a straight edge. So, and then the last thing that we're going to do is we have to think about shading. And so for shading, I have this line, it is greater than. So this is talking about all values greater than. So my y values greater than are up or above. So I'm going to shade all on the upper side of this line. Okay, so I kind of drew arrows to mark where that's going to be. Again, because my y values are increasing. Okay, so it's y is greater than, and I'm going to shade everywhere on the right-hand side. Everywhere, not some little shading, everywhere. So you can use a highlighter if it makes things easier, or shade lightly with your pencil. That works. All right, let's move on to number 4. Number 4, I have negative 2y is greater than negative 3x plus 8. So on this one, again, we have to put this into slope-intercept form. So all I have to do to put this one into slope-intercept form is divide by negative 2, trying to. And so when I divide by negative, I need to remember that my inequality sign will flip. So negative 3 divided by negative 2 is a positive 3 over 2. Don't change it to a mixed number. 8 divided by negative 2 is negative 4. We're going to write down our slope movement, which is 3 over 2. Our y-intercept, which is 0, negative 4. And then let's go ahead and graph this. So starting at negative 4 on the y-intercept, 1, 2, 3. There we go. And my slope movement is positive 3, positive 2. So I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, and right 2. We're going to keep doing that. 1, 2, 3, right 2. 1, 2, 3, right 2. Again, we're going to do this too, because we have to make these lines that take up the entire coordinate plane. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. And then when I run out of room to my right, I'm going to go in the opposite direction. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. And then in the opposite. See if I have any more room. I do. Down 1, 2, 3, and left 2. Perfect. And so looking to see what kind of line I have a just plain inequality. So My solution does not equal the line, okay? So I'm going to have a dotted line. Check this out. Now I have a pretty cool neon, yellow, green. I like it. And now we have to talk about shading. And so for shading, looking at that inequality, I have y is less than. With it less than, it is all your decreasing y values. Decreasing values, this part of my y-axis, so that tells me I'm going to shade below that line. Okay, and so grab your highlighter or your pencil and lightly shade below that inequality line. Okay, so go ahead, shade it all in. And I know you guys don't want to sit here and watch a video with me shading every little bit, so on this one every little bit, but on the other ones not so much. Okay, so that was number 3. Now we have number 4. So taking a look at number 4, what I'm going to do here, again, we're going to solve for y. We're going to put this into slope-intercept form. Now for this one, there is no y, so that's throwing me off a minute, but I see an x, and so that means, well, let's just go ahead and solve for x. It is the only variable there, so we'll solve for x. And when I do that, I have x is greater than or equal to 2. And that's okay. So I have x is greater than or equal to 2. And for this one, we need to talk about slope. Slope is undefined. We need to talk about our starting point. I wrote into B. Don't write into B. The starting point is actually on the x-axis. And so we can, I'm just going to go ahead and put in, it's my starting point. My starting point is 2, 0 on the x-axis. Okay. So finding 2, 0 on my x-axis, there it is. And so taking a look at my inequality, that equal to tells me it is a solid line. So I'm going to grab my solid line. And undefined is a vertical line. Hey, let me ask you, this is another question. Is this a function or not a function? And hopefully you know, okay, it's not a function because it's a vertical line. They share all the x coordinates, and if it's not a function, it's not a linear function. So nonlinear, not a function. All right, coming back to how we're going to shade. So this one, since there is no y, we have to talk about the x. So it's all your x values that are greater than or equal to 2. So greater than, x values greater than, hopefully you realize it is in this to the right positive x value direction. So when we shade, we're going to shade completely to the right of that line. Okay, so again, you have to be reading and analyzing these inequalities. There we go. So shade everywhere to the right. Moving on to number 5. So on number 5, and I believe we're on the back now. Here we go. Let's go ahead and I'm going to skip ahead to C6 because I told you my answer key is not right. Okay, yeah. So this one, I'm going to have you do it on your own. We're going to check this one in class. So good luck. We are going to, sorry. Copy it down. I know it's not on your note. So 4x minus 6y is greater than 18. And now I'm going to move on to number 6, the last one. So copy down 5y is less than negative 15. We're going to solve this one, and when we solve this one again, we're going to put this into slope-intercept form. So I can go ahead and divide everything by 5. I have y is less than negative 3, and so with y is less than negative 3, I see that there is no x value. So when I talk about my slope movement, we could write down that slope is there's no slope, or the slope is 0. So either one will work. B is, I do have a starting point of 0, negative 3. There it is. And so I'm going to go ahead and plot that on my coordinate plane. So there's 0, negative 3. And taking a look at my inequality is just less than, not equal to. So since it's just less than, I'm going to draw my dotted line, my dotted line, it is a horizontal line because, again, my slope is 0. There is no slope, so it's completely flat, like the ground. There's no hill or slant. Now, the next thing I need to think about is how I'm going to shade. So it's all my y values less than -3. So less than, that is my decreasing y values. So I'm going to be shading below the line. And so to be shading below the line, I'm going to grab my highlighter tool and go ahead and shade all of that. Now, this is the end of the notes. But if you, got done with these notes and are thinking, oh my gosh, I have no idea what Mrs. Wu is talking about with shading, there's another method to figure out which direction you're going to shade, whether you shade above or below. So come see me. That'll be a one-on-one lesson. And then one more thing, I totally wung these. Wung, is that a word? I did these notes on the fly without an answer key, so yes, obviously I'm flubbering over my words, but if there's any typos, please kindly let me know. I appreciate it. That's it for these notes. So over and out. I'll see you guys next time.